The discussion begins right now. And of course, with me, I'm joined by a lady, and of course, a gentleman. And to navigate through this, a very important discussion, if you ask me. And of course, time is flying pretty fast. Remember, United Nations had, they have their own target, ending female genital mutilation by the year 2030. 6 years to go. So, how does the journey looks like? Are we even near? And what does it take to actually, end FGM? And that is the conversation we are having tonight. And we invite you to be part and parcel of this discussion. You can talk to us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, we are live on YouTube at KUTV News Live. You can tweet me at Auma Events. Remember to use the hashtag Primetime News. And the discussion begins right now. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for making time. Same case to you, Benjamin. And of course, I will begin with you, Caroline. Well, the journey, and actually, to meet this particular target, ending FGM by the year 2030. That is the target of the United Nations. Well, 6 years to go. And if you ask me, time flies pretty fast. But I want to, borrow your thought on this. Do you think we are even close? How far are we in regard to this particular journey?
Well, hi viewers. I'm really glad to have gotten this opportunity to discuss about FGM and how we need to bring all our efforts together and end it. Yes, time is flying really fast and we only have 6 years to the target time that UN has set that we need to have ended this act. Now, I don't think we are close to ending it. It's a long journey that we all need to come together and bring our efforts to end it. And I think we need to go back and get the right people who need to be in this fight, the community themselves. Yeah, we need to empower the community themselves.
All right. Well, talking about empowering the community, and that is where you come in. Yes. For example, well, as an organization, of course, I believe you have been in touch with the people at the ground, and maybe most of the time I might be wrong or right, depending on your objective as an organization. Well, you go out there, you talk to the community, you do some sensitization, some sort of forum. Well, from a person who has been on the ground, how would you describe, the state? Just how dire is this, the female genital mutilation issue? Makori.
Thank you so much for having me here. When we talk about FGM, we are talking about something that's deep-rooted culturally. And that's why fighting it has become a problem. As you had asked about vision or SDG 2030, for me, I believe we might not achieve. Right now, we are still talking about universal education. And there are some areas in our country, even there are no classrooms. That's about education that is all over. What about these vices that is deeply rooted in our cultures? So yes, FGM, sometimes we might talk and think that it's something just normal. But come to think of that young girl who is coming from the village, who undergoes the cut at the age of 11 years, and at the age of 12, she's subjected for marriage. That's how bad it is. Sometimes we usually go as an organization to rescue very young girls who have been made like brides. Imagine going to look for a young girl who has been turned to be a wife to a more than 50 years old man. So it's that bad. Sometimes we talk about FGM and people think that FGM is just a normal thing. We have normalized these things, but in real sense we are violating the rights of these people, which is wrong. Even the constitution, most of the acts are against this act. So it's that bad. And on the ground, sometimes there are some cultures who are doing it even worse.
All right.
No, we were discussing like there are some communities, not per se in Kenya, but even in other countries in Africa, whereby after the cut, they sue you until when you get your husband, and then that's when they undo it.
Okay.
So it's that bad.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Caroline, you talked about, now shifting the discussion to the real people. And this is the community, the people that we'll call them the perpetrators who are actually, furthering this agenda of, the female genital mutilation. And if you ask me, of course, there has been some effort in trying to actually, get to the real people, educate them, tell them about the dangers of FGM to our women and young girls. But the question is, with all this, forum and information at hand, what is it about our society? What is it that we are not doing right to actually, get into the deep root cause of this FGM and try to at least zero down the rate?
Sure. I think there are various things that we have really not concentrated on. Number one is the inclusivity of us while we are trying to sensitize the communities on the harmful nature of this act. We need to make it an inclusive discussion whereby we need to bring men on board, we need to bring boys and girls when they are still very young, and also the parents. The cutters themselves also need to be there. We are really focused when you go to the field on just talking to the girls themselves. Remember, these communities, most of them, they are really patriarchal, and they have this mentality that it's men who issue ideas, or they're the ones who make decisions on their families, on these communities, and therefore we need to narrow it down and make sure that we are coming from that angle as well. Yeah, so we need to bring it in a way that we have men on board. Let them be the ones who have, first of all, they buy the idea, they get to understand why FGM is harmful. Yeah, it is a harmful it's against the human rights, number one. It's harmful to the girl, because first, it denies the girl's future, and also her voice, because when this girl is affected, the mental health is affected. She doesn't have a say to herself. She can't even, most of the girls, they have dreams, and when they go through the act, the torture, and they're still very young, they get affected. We also need to look at the laws that have been implemented. Are they being implemented? The people who are cutting, what happens to them after they have taken through a girl through the cut? We have the laws, they have been put there. We are told that if one is found taking a girl cross-border FGM, they can be taken in jail for prison for 3 years. How many have we seen being done that?
Okay.
How many cutters have gone through that? How many parents who have given their girls for cutting have been taken action on? Because you realize that when girls go through the cut, they are exposed to so many other dangers. They lack the education, they do not have the chance to be children again. They even are exposed to early marriages, because that's one prerequisite for such communities who give their children away for marriage. They require them to go through the cut. So there are so many things that we have not yet really concentrated and put our efforts into. We need to come together as organizations who are focusing to ending this, so that let's think together, let's brainstorm, let's come up with innovative ways of ending FGM.
All right.
Our hope is not lost.
All right.
The 6 years can be the time when we end this act.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have raised a very important, questions, and touch on a very, very fundamental aspect of this particular discussion about the perpetrators and, of course, the laws that exist, and we'll talk about that. Well, but I come to you, Makori.
Yes.
You paint an analogy that you used, and some sort of imagery of 13 years girl who has been forced to undergo the cut. And this brings, the aspect of, the importance of this act, of which, if you ask me, there is no any significance, related to it, because a girl undergoes a very painful process.
Yes.
That expose her to, health risks. And this is information that is there. We have seen witness victims give the account of stories, how they actually, had to experience some difficulties at one point, some even during, their labor period during that time. And this is enough information to actually, open your eyes to this, I'll call it barbaric act, because it is inhuman to subject human being to such some sort of torture. So when we narrow down to, the moral aspect of it, is it the outdated culture that still, fuel this desire to actually continue with this, unthinkful act of FGM, or what is happening?
I think what is really hindering us, especially we Africans, it's because of some myths that are within. There are some communities believe that if you have not undergone through the cut, you are not fully a developed woman. So they believe that for you to be fully recognized as a woman, or for you to get a ticket to marriage, you have to go through the cut. Sometimes I usually ask those people maybe in the villages where we usually go to train, how many maybe local communities that used to participate in such acts, but they left long time ago, but they still have kids. In fact, they are very fertile. They get a lot of kids, more than, there's no way somebody can come and say that for you to be qualified to be a woman, you have to go through the cut. No. I think let's change our mindset. Let's tell the people the reality. In fact, those people, it's always believed that those women who have not undergone through the cut, sometimes even the desire of maneno ya kusoma katiba, it's enjoyable. So
right.
So when we subject our girls to all these barbaric acts, in fact we are torturing their minds psychologically. And then it's like sometimes even their concentration levels, sometimes it happens that you have come from the village, you have joined a very good university with good grades, then only to realize that people are mocking you that this girl has gone through the cut. It started disturbing you, and then at the end of the day you realize that your grades are dropping, or you end up even being traumatized and start blaming your ancestors, your parents, and everybody in the village. So I think we should change our mindset on everything and be open. There are some myths that I had in some communities that if you haven't been cut, you can't even cross somebody's farm. That if you have planted maize, they'll dry up.
Okay.
Who told you that the plantation will dry up? Those are myths that our people back then used to think that it's one way of sustaining purity of this girl. But for me, I tell people that even if your behaviors are that worse, even if you be cut, even if you removed what, if your behaviors are worse, they are always worse. Okay. So let's embrace mentorship, let's embrace more talks, let's tell our parents the reality of life, and so that they get to see the importance of purity, the importance of getting pure honey, not honey that is diluted.
All right.
Yes.
And talking about this whole aspect, well, United Nations, of course, according to their statistics, it is that more than 200 million girls and women alive today have undergone female genital mutilation. That is a staggering number. And nearly 4.4 million this year is at risk of undergoing FGM. This is, if you equate, it's close to 12,000 cases every day.
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
Yes.
And that is actually exposes, what you guys, the stakeholders, need to do. Because if you are to hit the target, then I sincerely believe that there is work to be done.
Yes.
Well, I want to get your thought on this, Caroline. When you look at these, numbers, does it worry you?
A lot. It's so worrying because the only something that comes to my mind when I see that numbers is that not all girls have been given the platform to report. So you can imagine how many more cases we have unreported. And this also reflects back to the futures that have been destroyed through that. And also generally looking at the economy of our country, national-wide, international-wide, how many resources of people, how many human resources are we losing through this act? So all this is so worrying, and we can only imagine how much more we can save through coming together and trying to end it. I'm really glad because we as Kenya Works are really trying. We have, like every year we have anti-FGM forums in different communities that practice the same. And we have managed this year to sponsor about more than 100 girls who were at risk of going through the FGM. And throughout last year, 2023, we were able to take them through mentorship. And this year, most of them were the beneficiary of the sponsorship program through the help we got from the well-wishers, and they went to secondary school. So you can imagine, after training them on how to stop FGM, now they are ambassadors again. It's the same to their different communities. And now when they come back, they will go back to their communities educated and enlightened people. And many other girls, the community will be admiring them, and it will attract them to shun from this practice. We also went ahead and educated their parents on how to take care of their girls. The parents, both parents, the fathers and the mothers, they all came together. So the ripple effect will be amazing. So we are really glad because in our own small ways, each and every person, wherever we are, if we combine our efforts, we will see we are working towards ending that number. It is so clear, it is big. It is a huge number that we all need to come together and end.
Even for me, what is really worrying me is that people are transiting to even women. Next week we'll be in a place in Kipkelion where we got some statistics from a certain lady who is in charge of gender, who told us that in December they rescued and they arrested perpetrators. In fact, she told us about 16 women were arrested. These are women who have been subjected to the cut at the level of marriage. Why are we really hiding along the maybe? What is really happening is that we have started hiding from girl child to it has advanced even to women. In fact, those women, some of them went through FGM because they have been told that you can't get married to this community or this family, and yet your girls are yet to mature. So you have to go through the cut, then your girl should follow. So the numbers is really worrying, and then this FGM Act is advancing. A long time ago, Kikuyus left it, but right now, it has started coming back slowly. So, in Kisii, what is really worrying me is that yes, sensitization has been happening, but the fact that professional nurses go and do this act, that is very worrying. This is somebody who has gone to class, who knows the effects of FGM, and ignores our calls, and yet because of egocentric kind of nature, kind of life we are living, they want to go for money, and yet they are affecting the lives of these girls. So the number is really worrying, and I think we should combine efforts, both civil societies and the government to see what we really need to do. Let's not talk about 2030, and yet we haven't even laid the fundamental structures and laws that and enforce those laws that are in place.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you talked about enforcement of the laws,
Yes.
and when you look at these cases, we know the perpetrators, they live among us.
Yes.
They are our mothers, our fathers sometimes, and like Caroline said,
Yes.
nothing seemed to be, happening to them. We have laws. We know that this practice is illegal, and we have, penalties for such acts. But how many cases can we say we can count? Maybe successful cases every time you receive. Maybe you deal with. Most of the time, you rescue young girls from this act. How many cases maybe you can tell us that you have actually followed to the latter?
Actually, Evans, let me
Yes.
talk to that. There's one really huge block towards getting these perpetrators. For one, you'll find that even the people who we have trust on, that they're the ones who are rescuing the girls, the chiefs,
The kangaroo courts.
the people who are on the ground, that they're the ones the girls can run to, they also have this kind of a mentality which is embedded towards the misconceptions, the myths that they can't take an action to a lady, to these cutters, because they will get cast or something. You see, those myths, all those things, most of them, they're the greatest hindrances towards getting justice for these girls.
Right.
Because we'll just know from the communities themselves, they're the ones to bring these, the people who are perpetrating these actions. So if they do not, and they're shying away from exposing them because of some myths, some untruthful thoughts and beliefs, that really drags us behind towards getting justice.
All right.
Bana, even some hindrances that we have also experienced on the ground is that you find a perpetrator commits such an act, and then because of the kangaroo courts, things want to be solved within the village. Now the chiefs and the local leaders exchange some, maybe let's say cattle, and then so that they'll keep quiet. And for honestly, if an outsider can't, or somebody can't raise an alarm, that case will go that way. So for us, what we usually do, whenever we are told, what we usually do is that, we want, the first thing is to collaborate. We have to ensure that we inform the children's department. Let's inform that chief or the ACC, somebody who is senior than that chief, that there's something happening, and we have some rumors that there are some girls who are going to go through the cut maybe next week. So with all those stakeholders, the OCS, we go on the ground. We try to prevent. They usually say prevention is better than cure. So before they go for the cut, the parents are aware that they are always monitored, and that's how sometimes we achieve on rescuing these girls.
All right.
Yes.
And because we are running out of time, and I would like to dedicate this 1 minute each to you for your closing remark, and you can even spice it up with the way forward. Yes, we know the problem, we know what we need to do, so how do we steer ahead this ship in order to reach to the desired destination, because this is a problem that we are facing. Yes, I'll begin with you, Caroline.
All right, thank you so much, Evans. First, I would like to pass this information that the survivors of FGM, we do not need to keep victimizing them. These are people who we can actually see them as change makers. They are champions of change in these communities. If we decide to work with them, if we empower them, also let's also this actually I'll talk to government leaders. They need to work together with the organizations on the ground, with their chiefs also. We empower them in a way that they need the resources to do this, to rescue the girls, to end FGM. We also need to come up with ways of creating economic activities for the cutters. Because if we do not, and we keep on telling them to stop it, let's give them alternative rites of passage, actually.
All right.
So for me, that is what I would say. And I would like also to thank the people who we are working with towards ending this. Thank you so much.
All right. Briefly, quickly.
Yes, I think I'll echo what Caroline has said. Let's embrace alternative rite of passage. Let's train these girls that for you to qualify to be a woman, it's not a must that you have to go through the cut. Let's engage our community leaders. Let's do more mobilization of resources and create more awareness in those communities. Let's do what we call cross sectoral collaboration. Maybe the government and the civil societies come together, talk about these things, and come with the way forward on how we will really help this girl child. Let's educate women and girls. Yes, and also even men. Men should be involved on the table. Because they are the main decision makers. Let's engage them.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Caroline Gitau, that is Coordinator, Kenya Works, and Benjamin Makori, Social Worker, Kenya Works, for your time. And of course, this has been a very important discussion. And one thing that I'm getting out of this discussion is that all the stakeholders, they need to work together to make sure that, we end FGM by 2030.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.